Spring has well and truly sprung. The sunshine has returned, and the world becomes beautiful once more. Not quite Ostara, not quite Easter. Here's a spring-themed makeup look that incorporates some of my favourite parts of the season. Time for another makeup video. Product list is in the description. Alright, so I'm starting with the base. I'm putting a healthy coat of primer all over my face. And after letting it sit for a few minutes, I'm tapping in a layer of full coverage foundation all over. Taking my concealer, I'm highlighting the centre of my nose, under the eyebrow bone, and on the inner and outer corners of my eyes. Then using a damp beauty blender, I'm buffing that all in with a stamping motion. Taking a stick contour and a flathead brush, I'm carving out both sides of my nose and under the septum. I'm also drawing lines under my cheekbones. And in the top corners of my forehead, I draw these little bow and arrow shapes. I am such a Sagittarius, am I right? I then buff the contour brush subtly across the hairline and under the bottom lip. After letting it sit for a couple of minutes, with a different beauty blender, I buff the contour in, being more precise and making sure that I leave no harsh lines. For the nose contour, I tend to begin buffing with my fingertip, just blending it into the foundation. Always check in different lighting and angles to make sure it is all blended in. Now we can set the liquid base. So I go all in, buffing my powder all over my face and neck, tapping up and down rather than brushing to begin, just to print the powder into it. Now with my powder contour and contour brush pinched between my fingers to get a sharp edge, I trace over the nose contour lines with the contour powder, just to bring that shadow back. Then I'm buffing the contour powder into my cheekbones, forehead corners, and under my bottom lip. The good thing about using a powder contour is its ability to blend oh so subtly into other powders while still looking semi-natural, so don't be afraid to spend time blending and carving until you're happy. Now I'm using the other end of the brush and my blusher, and just blending that gradient between contour and highlight. And also adding it to the tip of my nose as well. Time to add eyebrows. If you have them, great. You can just shape them and set them how you like. Voluntarily relinquishing mine, I draw them on mostly from scratch every day. So using a brow pomade, softened a little with some primer, and taking my brow brush, I start on the natural centres that I already have, and decide on an angle and shape that suits the look. This varies day to day. I wanted this look to be high glam, so I opt for a high arch in a more draggy fashion. The trick is in matching them, and luckily with the primer mixed into the pomade, it makes it fairly easy to wipe off and start again if the angles are a bit off. For this first layer, they don't have to be perfect, just an idea of eyebrow. As you can see, these are barely related, let alone sisters, not twins. Taking my bright palette from Beauty Bay and the shade White Lies, I highlight under my brows, down the centre of my nose, a dot on my nose tip, and under the outer corner of my eye. And here's where the tutorial really begins. Here's the design I drew. I'll show it on screen as I never succeed at showing the camera. Taking the Brights Matte palette and the shade Slice of Lime, I start building up the outer shape on the eye. I changed the lighting slightly to try and show the colour a little bit more. So I'm starting out by leaving about 1/2 centimetre gap under my eyebrow line, then filling in with the green parallel to my brow and building up that colour. After cleaning my brush, I'm taking the shade Daffodil Delight and creating a cat eye shape, starting from the inner corner of my eye, buffing it all along the lower lash line and then up to join into the green wing. Now I'm going over the green again, this time with the shade Granny Smith just to make it pop. Cleaning my brush again, I go in for a second layer of yellow with the shade Hello Sunshine. Time to clean up the fall off. So I take my powder brush and lightly brush underneath my eyes, just to take away any eyeshadows that may have fallen onto the cheeks. Cleaning my eyeshadow brush again, and taking the shade Cosmopolitan, I begin shaping my excess blush. So I begin the process of looking sunburnt and blushy, building up the pink on the apples of my cheeks, and then using my blusher brush to begin building it up bigger, up my cheekbones, and blending it outwards and over the tip of my nose. Then using my eyeshadow brush again, I'm drawing around the tip of my nose with the pink just to give this dewy, fairy look. Part of the process of these looks is just having long periods of looking utterly ridiculous, but we trust the process. Time to cut the crease. I'm taking an oval-ended brush and my concealer, and I'm starting to sharpen up the underside of the green wing. And I'm making sure to cut it a few millimeters above where my eyelid sits when my eye is open, because this helps the lid look bigger and gives you more room for that pop of cut crease colour. I'm covering the whole lid in the concealer and also using it to create an inner cat wing on the inner corner. Using my fingertip and the shade Living for Lavender, I'm pressing the colour into the tacky concealer of the cut crease. Using the fingertip gives you a lot more control over placement and reduces fall-off of colour. I'm now building it up with the shade Sugar Plum, which has far more vibrance. Mixing a pink graphic liner and using a fine tip brush, I'm going over the rest of the wing, and blending with my fingertip to blend the purple eyeshadow into the pink of the wing. I then add even more blusher. We love being a blush. And now I'm going in for the second layer of eyebrows and really finalising that shape and all of the angles. Taking a green graphic liner, I'm starting on the embellishments by underlining my brow with the green and then by drawing the placement of the vines. I'm then taking a mix of neon yellow and green graphic liner to add a highlight to the vines and under the eyebrows. Then I start adding the leaves to the vines, and to my brows too, really building up that flora element. More blush. We want it as vibrant as possible. Taking my fine tip brush and a white graphic liner, I'm beginning to dot some freckles over my cheeks and nose. After letting that dry, I'm going over the blush again with my blusher brush to make the freckles more subtle, and then going over with white freckles again just to give depth. I also add a white heart to my nose tip. I then add white eyeliner to the outside of the purple cut crease, all the way up the wing and down into the cat eye wing. Then taking a yellow liner, I'm underlining the purple outer wing and underlining the cat eye wing too. And this is where we are. So starting on lips, I'm taking a brown eyeliner to line my lips. Starting at the Cupid's bow, I line just over my lip line on the top and bottom lip. Then rubbing them together to see the lip shape and making sure it's even and I'm happy with it. Taking a white pencil liner, I'm going over my waterline just to make my eyes pop even more. And now for eyeliner. Taking my black felt liner, I'm doing a subtle outer flick, and then doing a very fine line all the way across my lash line on the top lid. I'm then doing very subtle cat eye flick in the inner corner. Though this can be tough to get matching, you can use your fingertip to just pull it upwards into the corner to make it a bit more subtle. I almost always manage to forget to frame doing my lip liner, but using the same eyeliner, I'm drawing a crisp line on the outside of the brown eyeliner that we added earlier. Taking my neutral lip colour, I'm going over my whole lips, using it to blend the brown into it. While that dries, I'm taking my black felt liner and starting to draw the upturned moon on my forehead. I'm starting very lightly to make sure I'm happy with how the shape is going, and to make sure it's central and even. Then adding the dots beneath it between my brows, and I add the beauty mark above my lip, Madonna style. Then taking the white graphic liner, I'm filling in the middle of the moon to sharpen it up, and also starting to add the daisies to my forehead and next to my eye. Now the lip colour is mostly dry, I take the shade Amethyst from the Brights palette and using my fingertip tap the colour into it, going all the way out to the black outline of the lip. Deciding I don't like the purple, I start over, putting a makeup wipe over my fingertip, then gently taking off the colour, leaving the vague outline shape. This time, taking a black pencil liner, I go over the outline and rub my lips together to blend it in. I then add the neutral lipstick again and let it dry. While that's drying, the gold leaf bug reared its gilded head. I add dots of eyelash glue to my face and using tweezers, take small pieces of gold leaf and lay them into the glue. I then tap it into the skin with my fingertips so that it lays flat. Once the main areas have pieces on them, I use my fingertip to add smaller pieces and buff it into a glittery mix. I see it glinting in the light and I fall deeply in love. Adding more extraness, I take little pearl gems and using eyelash glue, fix them like berries along the vines. And now to finish the lips. Using the Earthy palette by Beauty Bay and the shade Lime, I start tapping the colour into the lips, and already I prefer how this looks. I then outline it again in black, just to add some more depth. Sometimes I surprise myself, and this is one of those times. Using a glitter liner, I underline my brows where the white area is. And then it's time for setting spray. Waterboard with setting spray and dry. Now I'm adding a healthy layer of mascara on the top and bottom lashes. And once that's dry, I'm adding some false lashes which really finish it off, and we are done. Can you see my unbridled excitement? This is my favourite look this year so far, truly in love. I am really feeling it, so let's cut to the reveal. As I said in the beginning, not quite Easter, not quite Ostara. I've got one earring that's a cross to represent Easter, and the other earring is a feather to represent Ostara. I have celebrated neither this year. However, I think that this is such a gorgeous springtime look. This has been so much fun. If you like what you see, hit like. That's how YouTube knows I'm worth watching. If you want to stick around, hit subscribe. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye!